Welcome.
Does that mean you started recording?
Yeah.
I'm gonna shit my pants.
Actually, I need to close my door and.
Fucking shambles. Fuck.
Okay.
If you're a true fan and you tuned into the stream yesterday, you'll know that my mum got COVID. It means I took a COVID test, so I'm going to be a bit more phlegmy than usual. You know, a bit more psychic pebbles.
Oh.
Fuck. Also, we have a limited amount of time to record 2 in a row of these.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we've put a limit on ourselves. But
we noticed that these videos are getting slowly but surely longer than they need to be and have been. So we're trying to pull back on them. And we're going to record 2 in a row because Harry is going on holiday next week. So.
Well, I was going to say that for the podcast when we actually have time to talk about things.
Yeah. But let's just get out
right
of the way.
now.
So, Cryo Cannon, you like to do a quick brief thing on it, right?
No.
Okay. It's a cold ass gun.
We present 1 overclock each of each category and kill each other. That's the aim of the series.
Yep.
Actually, not anymore, because it doesn't matter. It's impossible to be stupid in this series. It's impossible to come up with bad ideas.
Just bad concept. Yeah.
Yeah, but in truth, I've never actually disagreed with you when you've said one of my ideas is bad. But I still need to come up with them. There should be a balance. What's the point if no one comes up with crazy ideas? Anyway, start. Let's go.
All right, let's go.
First one is my clean overclock for the Cryo Cannon.
Yeah. What's it called? It says, but just...
It says, so that means we're okay. Good.
It is working.
I that's good because it wasn't last week
and the week before.
And the week before. Wasn't it even worse the week before?
Or
was that just me not being able to record? Anyway, ICEBREAKER. This is sort of my version of. Well, the flamethrower has that 5th tier mod, which is targets explode. I sort of wanted to try my hand at that. I knew it could not be as strong, or even anywhere near as strong, but I just like the idea of shattering enemies, causing a small blast. Let's say. So that means you can bring up the information.
Yeah.
Some basic stats there. I said this, I think, last time, or at least the general idea is the numbers are kind of placeholders anyway. They give you a rough idea, but I don't really know if it's balanced or not. I think the main part I need to focus on is when this small blast would occur, because I've written that frozen enemies with a small blast when killed or unfrozen. Unfrozen, probably not. That's literally just them cooling down. I don't know why I put it in there. It should be shattering them, causing small.
Isn't this a mod?
No, shatter is just for quickly killing things. That's the point. That's the Cryo Cannon version of targets explode, but it doesn't actually do any AoE at all. So I sort of just wanted to try my hand at that. And I suppose it makes more sense when it comes to shattering them, because you can almost play into the idea of you shatter an enemy, it would launch ice shards from them or something. And I definitely think because this is almost like subbing in for a mod that already exists, it probably would have made more sense to not try and make it so reserved. I feel like maybe clean overclock isn't really the right way to go with it, because
you always say that.
yeah, it's always true, because everything's better as a balanced and unstable overclock. But maybe not. It definitely would be if you included it as it is here, where it releases a blast when unfrozen. But I think when you take that away, I mean, even in general, I do question the usefulness of it. I think if it works on swarmers, I think the usefulness is pretty unquestionable, because in a crowd, not against crowds of swarmers themselves, but in a crowd, that means you take out swarmers so easily and dealing sort of bonus AoE damage. And sometimes the Cryo Cannon really does have that weakness through of you sort of just leave a lot of enemies frozen sometimes, and you always have to switch. Shatter usually makes up for that. but I sort of want a way of not having to necessarily rely on your secondary all the time, or as much, that doesn't require you to use shatter. Maybe you can use cold radius instead. Not to say it's my favourite idea. None of them are really. I'll get that out of the way, but maybe there's a place for it, maybe there isn't. I think it's possible. Do you think there's a place for it?
I think any normal man, anyone would appreciate having the cryo being able to clean up its own mess. And this would be a pretty good way of doing it. I think if we wanted to buff it up a bit, if you wanted to, and I think maybe it shouldn't be a guarantee. Maybe, like, shattering guaranteed, is it? Or is it?
Shattering's just a weird mechanic that I can't explain.
Yeah. And considering this is like shattered but better, it might need to have a bit of a uncertainty to it. But also, I don't know, it's only clean. For now, it would help with your killing output, which directly from the cryo without any assistance. And this would be a pretty unique way of doing it. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, what even is the cryo cannon? I think cryo cannon only has one clean now. After they changed tuned cooler.
Probably. I'm not sure. But I think we need to move on.
Well, yeah, you can't really.
Well, yeah, you said your piece. I critiqued it.
Piece your said.
I think we both agree that it's fine, but you also, and this is always your opinion, you think it could be better if it was more.
Well, would you use it?
Unstable.
I would definitely use it. I think.
I mean, I use everything here
there.
most of the time. I if there's like, enough overclocks, I'll use all of them. But I don't know. It might not be my favorite, but it also might be. I don't know. I'd have to use it.
I mean, I think tuned cooler would still somehow rear its ugly head.
Yeah. Well,
that stupid overclock. Freezing power, and it's all in. Well, it adds flow rate as well, but +1 freezing power, and they've nerfed it like multiple times. It was only ever one freezing power as well.
That's because cryo cannon, all it needs to do is freeze. That, like, everything else that it tries to do otherwise isn't good enough. That's the thing. Like, it's not that good at, like,
Pardon me.
Killing hordes on its own.
Move on.
Alright.
I mean, I try to lead us off the track, but
well, I don't actually know what my clean is. Faster spins. It's the technical term. And I'm gonna see what this is, because I don't know what this is. Increased damage by +3, reduced charge up time. Okay, so this is just to kind of use, I guess, the cryo cannon a bit more normally, I guess, like a bit more like a flamethrower, where it's just, you're kind of just trying to kill them, and you can start shooting quickly, stuff like that.
Thank Christ it doesn't reduce freezing power. I don't like things that do that.
Well, yeah,
it's repaired much better with shatter, because shatter as an upgrade doesn't really have a clear pairing, in my opinion. Even Ice Storm, because Ice Storm, especially with smaller targets, kills them pretty much before they get frozen anyway. And this not only doesn't do more damage, but it also doesn't reduce freezing power and doesn't reduce ammo either.
Which, as I just want to mention, that isn't the point of Ice Storm either. The point of Ice Storm is that when they're frozen, you do more damage.
No, that was added later, so I don't think you can really call it the point.
It's the main big paragraph of what it does.
Yeah, because it needs to explain it, but the point of Ice Storm is just to increase the damage. Both sides of the coin.
Yeah, this is just a light, I don't know, quality of life if you want to use the cryo cannon as like a normal gun. Which
yes.
I don't think
which, in my opinion, is missing.
Yeah, which I see why, because I don't know, if you want a normal gun, maybe the cryo cannon is just not for you. But I think there always should be options for every type of way of using a gun. Obviously, the cryo cannon shouldn't be turned into an assault rifle by any means. But like any way that you could stretch the cryo cannon, I'd like there to be a build that you'd be able to use for it. And I think this being just a more convenient way of using it. If you just kind of want to run around, use it like you would an assault rifle, or just like a gun that you just shoot and kill things with, then this is a light kind of just boost towards that build, which currently I don't really think there is one.
No, I like it a lot. I mean, I don't. When I first saw it, I thought, is that damage maybe slightly too much? But I know I wouldn't bring it below +2 either. It should be at least +2. But I don't know if 3 could be slightly too much. It's sort of trivial with such a small difference. But still, as it is conceptually, I would really like this because there's no reason to sort of take the damage mods on the cryo cannon unless you're using Ice Storm, and Ice Storm isn't amazing. Or at least I'd like to be encouraged to use those damage mods somewhere else, and a more simplified, just less extreme, just a more generalized overclock, but it's clearly speccing into direct damage. It's just a very appealing concept, and like I said, in my opinion, something that Cryo does lack is a reason to use those mods without Ice Storm, and this would add it. I wouldn't change anything about the points themselves. I'd just imagine. I mean, maybe the damage wouldn't need to be tweaked either, but I can see that needing to be tweaked potentially. And also, you don't have a number there for the charge time, but I think the minigun mod reduces it to like 0.3 seconds, so probably something like that.
Well, the cryo cannon does have one that brings it down to like 0.1, where there isn't really a charge up time. But yeah, well, I think that competes with the damage mod. So I think if I that were to be the mod, then you could pick. Point is, I don't know. It fills the role of just using the cryo cannon as a gun instead of the freezing machine, which I like the freezing machine. Don't get me wrong, but it's got that right. Toad Caller does that. Check. Books check.
Toad Caller or Snowball.
Yeah, that too. And like a high single target, you got Ice Spear. But as far as just a normal gun's concerned, Ice Storm doesn't really cover it.
Have you ever frozen an enemy before using Ice Spear on it?
I don't often use Ice Spear.
I'm going to say no, but do you ever remember doing it? Because I think we've been using it wrong every single time you've ever tried using it.
Well,
you are still meant to freeze things before, because it does way more damage.
Yeah, but the thing is that the only Ice Spear build that I use is for Dreadnoughts, and you wouldn't be able to charge up an Ice Spear at the time that it would take.
I don't think Ice Spear is good for Dreadnoughts, to be honest. I think Ice Storm or just pure freezing is probably better. Ice
Storm is not that good. You really want to just freeze them, or Ice Spear. You still do quite a bit of damage with Ice Spear.
Ice Storm would be awesome if it didn't tank your ammo so much. Anyway,
moving on to your
Mr. PLOW.
Mr. PLOW.
His name is Mr. PLOW. Mr. PLOW. Basically, cryo cannon get sticky flames, because I guess this is almost reflective of my clean one as well, where I'm sort of transferring ideas from the flamethrower to the cryo cannon. But this already has basis, obviously, because it does something like this already. The cryo cannon leaves, I don't know what it's called, because it's not...
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. I think it's just called like ground ice or something.
Yeah.
And it does supply cold to enemies.
It's alright against swarmers.
I think it's called the ice trail. I just wanted to play into that, but in a slightly more utilitarian way.
Beep.
I wrote snow mounds forgetting what the ice trails looked like, but in this case I want it to be snow, not ice. They're larger, they slow down freeze enemies more effectively, and reduce fall damage. This is where the utility comes in. I like the Divian to create little snow mounds, temporary snow mounds you can use to reduce fall damage, but they also have obvious combat potential. And like I said, I decreased the freezing power and damage as well, but that makes sense because this is more of a sticky flames thing anyway, or sticky ice thing, or sticky snow. I don't know if that playstyle would feel good for the cryo cannon, that's the only thing, but that's why I added in that extra bit of utility, sort of create something that isn't just sticky flames, because it doesn't work in the same way either. You know, heat spread is more of a thing for fire. Ice doesn't have heat spread.
Yeah.
But I did it.
Are you done? Because a couple of things.
I think so.
The full damage is broken.
I mean, it's too much.
I mean, I was thinking, wait, that doesn't make any sense because it's not like a platform that you couldn't like. You need to put it down earlier. It will like go, or like But I realized that you could then, no matter when you're falling, you just shoot at the ground and you'll take 80% less damage,
Well,
and you'll always
see,
have
that's
enough ammo
right,
for that.
but no, this could be very easily balanced, I think, because first of all, 80% probably too high. Second of all, I looking at that, could probably just change the penalty outright to reduce range and charge up time, or increase charge up time, to make it much more difficult to clutch with it. Although that is kind of what you'd want the full damage part for.
It just wouldn't though, because charge up time's fine and all, but if you're falling at a height that you don't want to take the death full damage from, you have enough charge up time that you're going to waste the ammo because it will save your life. And the range doesn't matter. As soon as you get close to the ground, it's going to apply the thing.
That's why you just need to reduce the amount you take damage from. You can't, like, if it's 50%, say, that's not going to save you from a lot of, like, every lethal fall. Especially if you're, like, not on full health already. I don't see reducing full damage as something that's particularly broken. Most of the time I take full damage from silly mistakes, and I think if you save yourself from it, you still have to do something to save yourself from it, and I think that's fine.
Yeah, but if that's something, I mean, I guess Engineer does have it, like, but you just shoot the floor. But like, I don't know, it's just, I think it's unnecessary and broken, and also I don't know why you're reducing the damage, considering the snowmounds don't add any damage.
No, it's just for freezing.
Yeah, so why you get rid of the damage?
You're not gonna. Well, I suppose you would still be shooting for enemies, but it's just to discourage using it normally, so you're not meant to.
No one gives a shit about the damage of the cryo cannon. So you don't need to get rid of it. That won't discourage anything. The decreased freezing power of the gun will do that job.
Fair enough. Well, then decrease range, like I said.
Yeah, I think range probably is what you want.
And I think thing is, I don't think the sticky fuel overclock reduces range, but I don't care. No, this. I mean, looking at it as it is, it wouldn't be any more broken than sticky fuel anyway. Because I was thinking about the wave cooker temper shock thing, and if you have mounds, snow mounds beneath enemies that quickly freeze them, you could like abuse that on a Praetorian, but no more than you already can with sticky fuel. And obviously, there's no real way of speccing into this on the cryo cannon's own mods. Those mods don't exist, which is why I, what numbers could I put in here for like how much it slows enemies, how much freezing power it flies? Because I don't know what's right for it at all. It would need to be, but at the time, that's kind of the point of the overclock, is sort of do a lot of heavy lifting in adding like an entire mechanic to the cryo cannon that it kind of has but doesn't have like any mod for. You sort of need, if you wanted to make this, you would need the overclock to add more than the sticky fuel overclock. You just it has to be that way. Well, but I wouldn't necessarily make it stronger.
You've also got to bear in mind how much worse this gun will make the cryo cannon against one of its biggest strengths, being Bacterias.
Yes, that's correct.
And I'm not sure if
it's worth it.
Yeah, because the snowmounds. Realistically, would the snowmounds freeze enemies quicker than you could just do with the quicker freezing power on the gun? And you don't really need a slowdown if they're frozen.
No, but I think slowdown is just meant to help the mounds freeze them, keep enemies in place before they get frozen. Yeah. I know. I mean, I question the usefulness of it too. I just wanted to try like this. A lot of my ideas are trying to see if I can make something work, and then us further trying to see if it does work in the actual videos themselves. And I don't know if I really agree with the Mactera thing that much, because I don't consider it a huge strength of the cryo cannon, despite how obvious it is. And like, you can insta kill them, but you don't really insta kill them. They just die when they're frozen. But you end up doing a lot of damage to them already. Sometimes most of the damage before they're frozen.
Yeah, but
And
it's also just very easy to hit the Macteras.
true, I don't think it applies to certain things. Like
But the point is
goo
that
bombers are weird, but I think there's other ways to do it that are just effective. Like
the point
EPC
is
heavy
that
hitter
you
plasma
turn
burn is very good against Mactera.
this would turn the cryo cannon, which is inherently one of the best for Macteras, into actually not good. Like, you wouldn't want to shoot Macteras with it because it has decreased freezing, so it's not going to freeze them, decreased damage, which I know we're going to get rid of, but so you wouldn't be able to kill them, and then it won't do any of the snow mounds, which is the point of the gun.
Well, decreased range as well, but
Yeah.
what's wrong with an overclock making gun weaker in one department to make it stronger in another?
Because it doesn't really need to get stronger in another department.
Right, but I think it could, but maybe if you implemented the numbers that would make it that good, it might be too good just by nature. And sort of, well, it's better at just freezing things on the ground. I guess it competes with Tune Cooler if you don't care about enemies in the air, I guess.
Yeah.
That is kind of odd, though.
So I think it competes with something if you ignore the fact that it completely loses in another category. It's...
But the thing is, personally, for me, it's not a huge loss.
Yeah, but there's not a huge gain either, so you're still taking a loss for what could be not any real benefit. And obviously the full damage
right,
would be a benefit, but I think it's broken.
It could be good enough. That's why I didn't really put any numbers in, because I don't really know what would make it good enough. But it just would be good enough if it was added. Unless it isn't good enough, in which case I blame Ghost Ship for their hypothetical poor implementation of this overclock that came up with.
Like, the only way, because like I know you don't actually use it that often, do you? The cryo cannon.
No.
And
I actually use it less than both of the others.
Recently. I mean, generally, I haven't played it much because I'm just having to avoid Driller. But I played it a bunch yesterday, and there is no. Once you charged up, they basically freeze instantly. Most enemies, like grunts, slashers, all them. The second they come in contact, it's like 2-3 ticks, boom, freeze central, right? Unless it's literally the second that they come in contact with this snow, they freeze. You can't really compete with that.
Well, because the point of sticky fuel is that it's meant to be more ammo efficient, because you get more total heat applied from one sticky flame than you do for one tick of the flamethrower's particles. I guess that's the same idea here, that a single snow mound would apply more cold over time, so technically be more ammo efficient.
I suppose
that's the point of it. Not saying that's what I would want out of it. This is kind of Overclock where I would just try it.
The thing is, though, I dislike
favorite thing
virtually everything about this. I think you may have noticed by the fact I've nitpicked every single part of this, but I think that this could very possibly be something they add to the game. I can see them adding this, and I can see me disliking it. Because I hate the sticky flames mechanic, because it is so boring, yet by far the best way of using the flamethrower, and it's so stupid. And I think...
Well, I'd make the argument that makes it not the best way of using it.
Well, but it is, though, statistically. It's the most efficient way of using the flamethrower.
Stats aren't 100% of the conversation.
But it is when I'm saying the best way of using the flamethrower. It's the most efficient way of using the flamethrower. That is the fact.
There you go. Got right.
But yeah, so I wouldn't like it, but I could legitimately see this being added. But I think we need to move on.
Yeah, I think the main point is just if they were to do anything the Ice Trail, I know it would have to be an Overclock that does, like I said, all the heavy lifting, and that's the reason why
I think the full damage is a bit light.
Yeah, probably, and that's why it's not too likely to be added, because they haven't touched it before. But maybe they will.
Well, to be honest, I did have a shot at Sticky Flame-esque stuff as my unstable.
Well, I think yours is probably a better version of it, potentially.
We'll see. But first, my balanced, which is this one, Propelled Chill.
So,
another scientific name.
The laziest Overclock we've ever done. The laziest.
But yeah, just increased reach by a lot. but the freezing power is not as good. But you kind of make up for it in that you start freezing them a lot further away, and you'll be freezing more because of how many you'll be freezing if they're in like a group.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought there isn't really a range mod, which makes sense because it would probably look really weird, and I think it would, which is why I think it's kind of funny. Because there was just a stupidly large funnel of ice coming out of the cryo cannon. Which, yeah. So, I don't know. I think it's vaguely balanced. Maybe 2 freezing power loss is a bit much.
I think both is a bit much because, well, I think I realised that the reason that the cryo cannon doesn't have this already. Well, first of all, this is exactly the same as the flamethrowers one that increases range, except the flamethrower one doesn't decrease heat; it decreases magazine size. But it's the same amount of range added. But the reason why the cryo cannon doesn't have this, it's not because of that, it's actually because of Snowball. Which is kind of supposed to be that, just in a weirder way. Which is why this should exist. I think it still should exist, but it should have been instead of Snowball, basically. Which is why it probably won't ever exist.
Well,
I think Snowball is meant to be that. They just wanted to do something different with it. They just want to do exactly the same as the flamethrower.
I think, if they intend to adding, so many for so long this game, and they're going to add more and more overclocks, I imagine, they need to kind of do the
Double up
simple
almost.
and fun versions of things. So the people, like, if they want a ranged freeze, they can either use Snowball, which is like high risk, high reward, or they just have Propelled Chill, which I also think would be pretty fun because of how silly it would probably look. But,
or if they want damage, they can use Ice Storm or faster spins.
Yeah.
Or if they want something really dumb, they can just use my unstable.
Or anything you build, which I guess is at your way of moving on, because there's not much more to be said about this, to be honest. So.
No, well, I think I stand by what I said in that it should have just been in the game instead of Snowball, and I would rather use this than Snowball, but it's kind of gay.
It's fine. I'm just better than
massive
developers.
changes to
It's it's what it is.
Although I do think 2 freezing power would feel much worse than you might think.
I think it might be just
One
just
would
the
actually almost be balanced, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it's actually as little of a nerf as you think. Perhaps, or maybe you do know. I think it sounds like you do understand. Anyway.
Well, it's a lot of reach, but point is, freeze
Speaking
rate.
of reach.
You made your own little icon for this one, which is nice.
Yeah, this one's dumb. Don't know if that means bad. Really bad. So, if anyone remembers, they might do. I reckon a lot of people have seen the Shard Diffractor one. What I did for my unstable was like this idea where you could switch. It's not switching, by the way. I'm not switching the cryo cannon from cold to hot. But that was the Shard Diffractor thing, where you could switch it from applying heat to applying cold. And I thought, what if we take that version of the Shard Diffractor, where it's applying cold, and forget about that even possibly being added, and just turn it into something for the cryo cannon. So it's a very extreme change, but it's still just a freeze gun. So that entails unlimited range, but it's like a pinpoint. It's basically a laser. That's what I mean, where it's like similar to the Shard Diffractor thing. And it does all these stupid things with weak points. So I was like, oh, what if the cryo cannon could do something with weak points? Where it's like, it freezes them much quicker when it hits weak points. It does more damage when it hits weak points. It's just like it's like freezing, but somehow turned into massive single target damage, but not ice spear. And I don't know if it works or not.
Is this a firing mode or like?
No, it's just it. Maybe it would work as a firing mode. Maybe that's like a way of just having it be like it doesn't matter if it's just an alternate firing mode.
When you were describing it, I was thinking of you could like just turn the cryo into the the wave cooker's like thinning thing, where it increases the rate of fire. So it like thins it, but you can freeze things quicker in a smaller area.
Well, I'd say a pretty easy argument for having it being an alternate firing mode is that I also made it so that it's just a laser beam, because it doesn't pierce either now.
Yeah.
So maybe alternate firing mode would be the right way to go. I mean, you wouldn't have to make any massive changes to it. But this was almost the idea
Faster
of
pressure drop. Does that mean it overheats quicker?
yeah.
Or loses pressure quicker. So it really actually, I think the pinpoint one doesn't actually overheat quicker, although it will because of a higher rate of fire. But this is very similar to like shard diffractor meets wave cooker equals, or like, and then on the cryo cannon creates this.
But then there's the weak points thing. So this sort of started as like an idea for an overclock where freezing enemies would still leave their weak points exposed. And I sort of turned it into the cryo cannon itself, just doing a shit ton more damage to weak points when enemies are frozen, and it also freezes them quicker. Like, I almost like this idea of much stronger freezing if you hit them in the place, which that idea alone I don't think is entirely stupid, and it would probably work very well against dreadnoughts, but I don't know maybe the pressure drop rate would affect that or not. So yeah, it is pretty extreme, and I would actually immediately amend it to be an alternate firing mode. I actually think that's a much better idea.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
No, yeah.
And I think that also means it's kind of, that's almost a cop out, but
yeah, because
it's a
it's like
cop-out,
it's like sure, if this is like unbalanced and weird and funky, you could still just use the cryo as like normal most of the time, and then just whip this out.
Yeah, but I do want to ask if you would use it if it wasn't an alternate firing mode. I'm still more interested in that.
I mean, I
would definitely try it.
I'd read this and I'd be like, "Holy mother of shit! Let's give this a go." But I don't know. Unlimited range really is the kicker, because as much as I think you are aware of how ridiculous it is, I don't think you truly comprehended the game-breaking level of which you like. Unlimited range is not.
I understand.
It just ain't what like driller should have access to, or like his primaries. Obviously, he has like one of the few unlimited ranges of secondaries, but primaries are defined by their range. And
well, keep in mind, if it wasn't an alternate firing mode, this can only exist because of the wave cooker. I wouldn't have come up with this if the wave cooker wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Because there'd be no reason to use it. It probably would be quite bad, actually, without the wave cooker, or unless it was an alternate firing mode. But yeah, so even then, you're probably right about the unlimited range thing. I mean, I think I know you're right, but it can only hit one enemy at a time.
Yeah.
And cannot pierce either. Like it's like the shard diffractor, but with no AoE.
I don't know. I think it kind of feels. I don't know. It feels weird. I don't think I'd be able to use it because it's like. So I use this at long range to freeze single high visible weak point targets, and then what? Like. Like
yeah,
like,
I know
and but then and then you're left with your secondaries to deal with the chords in front of you, right? Which I don't know if you know, but that's not the best situation to be in with the driller. It's like only really the EPC thing containment build, which takes a lot of learning to use, which I don't even know how to use, to manage to do that. And that's what this would force you to use, because of its very specified and kind of not useful ability. Because normally with the ability of freezing things close, most people are there. You know what I mean? You're with your teammates, so they can immediately shoot them. But if there's like a frozen oppressor on the other side of the cave, no one's gonna finish them off because no one knows it exists other than you. Unless you like ping them, but by the time they start shooting it, it's probably gonna unfreeze again. Like. I think it would be fun and used and cool, but I think people will soon realize that there isn't a point in it at all. It's kind of empty, gimmicky, kind of like sure, a limited range. It freezes quicker on weak points, but the cryo cannon doesn't need either of those things, and it would actually be detrimental obviously not inherently. The weak point freezing quicker could be a cool thing in and of itself, right? So that it relies a bit more on accuracy, which could be something. But yeah, the limited range. No, it sounds ridiculous, but it just yeah. And with the thinner cold stream, it just and no piercing, it loses all close range and what it normally does abilities, which I don't know.
Well, you'd still be able to use cold raiding with it, and also alternate firing mode.
Yeah, which is why alternate firing mode. It means, I mean, obviously it means the cryo isn't going to be as good as it could be close range, but you can still use it as such, and then you could whip it out for the thing. But I still don't think it. I mean, I guess I can see it in that. I think I may have done something like this, where you can kind of then just, if you go into a cave, switch into your ultimate freeze mode. Anything in that cave that's an issue, you pause, no matter how far away they are. Like, spitballer in the back that's woken up because the scouts have retard. Pause.
A big motivator for this.
Yeah. Corlock that's awakening. Pause. You just pause all of their fucking like tendrils just to give everyone a moment, and because I don't know. It seems very strong, but incredibly situational, which is fine for an alternate firing mode, even though I still think it would be kind of bad, or kind of good, but also then kind of bad. But I don't know. In of its own right, it's kind of iffy.
I did say it seems like a cop-out, but I am starting to think more realistically that as an alternate firing mode, its value would surface much quicker, instead of just being forced into this. If you had the option, you would start to realise like what situations you actually need to use it in, instead of just being forced to use it all the time.
Yeah.
So
if it's constant, it's terrible and never should be added. A firing mode, it can be tinkered. I think a limited range is a bit much, but maybe a lot more range. Right.
Well, the problem with that is I don't think it would feel right half-arsing either end of this.
Yeah.
Where I feel like when you have it being pinpoint and not piercing, I feel like unlimited range was wrong. It should feel like a laser beam.
Yeah, but then there is the issue that Driller himself has an identical weapon, right? Like, you could use this firing mode and then switch to the wave cooker and it's the same fucking experience, you know what I mean? And I think it's, I don't know, it wouldn't feel pleasant, it wouldn't feel interesting, it wouldn't feel unique of a thing to do. But
I think it would. I think it would feel similar to that lovely overclock for the shard factor called Overdrive Booster that I have nothing but good things to say about.
Yeah.
That's a lie. I hate it.
But that's another thing.
Better than it.
If you added that, or they added that to the game, then there would be another thing, you know, like. But I guess you really.
Well, no, because the way Overdrive Booster works is when you're firing already, you press X and then it switches to it, and you can't move, and it
we don't need a rehash of what the old Overclock was. Point is, if you want to know, watch the Shard Factor video.
No, that wasn't that. I'm talking about an Overclock that already exists.
Oh right, Overdrive Booster that you don't like.
Yeah, I can see just being better for it. That kind of mechanic where you have to switch to it while firing already. I don't know.
I mean, it could maybe, and we should, but maybe it's not an alternate firing mode, but it doesn't kick in immediately. Maybe it starts off being a normal, but then as you hold it down and it gets closer to running out of thing, it starts, focusing. Or the other way around. It starts focused and then eventually widens and goes back to normal. Point is, let's move on. God damn it, Harry. Another whack-ass unstable. Now, my unstable is Ice Age, which is a reference to a lot of things, being
Ice Age.
the Ice Age that occurred, the movie, the series, I guess.
Well, that was the Ice Age that occurred.
The Aokiji attack from One Piece, where he freezes an ocean with just a touch. Cool ass motherfucker. It's mainly that one, admittedly, but those two are then references to the Ice Age and Mr. Freeze from the Tim Burton stuff. Is it Tim Burton? When he was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Where's that?
Ice Age. What do you mean?
Because he just says Ice Age.
Yeah. What
That
killed
doesn't
the
count.
dinosaurs?
What
The
killed the
Ice
dinosaurs?
Age.
The Ice Age!
Yeah. Point is, Ice Age. And this is my answer to a kind of Sticky Flames build kind of thing. But it isn't actually floor, it's more air. So a bit different.
Anywhere.
Yeah. Stream leaves behind a residue of snow in the air that frees enemies. And I gave actual numbers for that. 5 freeze per tick lasts 5 seconds. Not sure how good or bad that is.
Probably too good.
Well, how good is...
Well, how I need to establish how exactly this works, because my first thought was, oh, it's like a little patch of freezing that
Well,
is
it's
there
basically...
at the end of the cold stream. But is it like the entire
It's
length of the stream
it's literally
is
your
left behind?
your shot lingers, basically.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh my god! So I mean, I thought it might be that, but I didn't want it to be.
I think it could probably the slower flow rate is not valid enough. It needs to be a pretty severe ammo decrease.
Absolutely, I'd say an even greater freeze decrease as well. If it's
probably.
the entire length of your cold stream, and you could just spray it around, you could create like a sphere of freeze if you wanted to.
Yeah, pretty much.
That needs to be doing all the work, and it could do all the work very easily. Especially with cold radiance already being a sphere of freeze power around you. I could honestly foresee this tanking the freeze power like all the way, and still working. That would reduce its effectiveness against Mac Terror, admittedly. No, reduce Mac Terror bombers, because if you just like coat a group of Mac Terrors in this, they're not gonna be moving that much to get. You can easily cover all the air that they're gonna be going through. It's not gonna be a difficult thing to achieve. Also, gonna freeze the teammates a lot as well, so I think that kind of balances out.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it'd just be like kind of you just like whoosh, and you just like paint the air of like cold.
Yeah, I do like the idea.
I think maybe for balancing reasons, it needs to be less strong than it currently is, because otherwise, we're thinking of severe ammo decrease, severe freeze decrease, like in the base gun, making it very useless. But I don't know. I think
I know.
Leaving like a fat ass cloud of residue in the air that like slowly frees stuff. So it's like
ass cloud of residue.
it's a bit like neurotoxin, but it's like wherever you put it and cold. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a different take, more literally in that this isn't on a floor anymore; it's in the air.
I definitely prefer this to mine, by the way.
And also the name really doesn't have anything to do with it. I just wanted to use Ice Age, but I don't know. I think I could see them adding not inherently this, but if they do see themselves wanting a Sticky Flames-esque build, something more like this, in the it's not relying on the floor, and that's how it's different. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to change its nature. I just need it to be
balanced.
Balanced.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, flow rate doesn't fucking matter. That is, and it's not even that big of a decrease either.
Get rid of it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Replace it with ammo.
Yeah.
Replace it with an ammo increase. Like what?
Yeah, baby.
Well, the Cryo doesn't really have that. It doesn't have a ammo overclock.
That's because it's very ammo efficient,
but none of them
if you
do.
use it right.
Yeah. Especially this one. See, I don't know if this one would be ammo efficient, actually. I think it would be, but you'd have to use a lot, and then you'd have to...
Yeah, then you just stop.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
You just kind of spray down an area with a hose, just get it all nice and misty.
Create some glass, because glass is just frozen air. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. And then, boom, shakalaka. Ice cloud. Ice Age.
Ice Age. What killed the dinosaurs?
The
Cryo cannon. You.
B. I
Why are there
killed
no dinosaurs in Deep Rock?
because it's boring. All right.
Anyway, we should do this thing. Because, like I
Uh-oh.
said, yeah, move on to the last slide.
Last slide.
So
Ta-da.
I've kind of tried to do it. Well, what we're going to be doing once we've got through all the weapons is like a final pitch for each class. But
Yeah.
we should, in like a slightly roundabout way, sort of figure out what ones we think is gonna make it. It's been yours so far. In my head, it's always been one of yours, and in this case, probably just your clean, which is actually a lot of them. I believe in it. Either that one or your unstable. Even if we really want to try and make that work somehow, but
Yeah. Well, I think it's because the way that I make overclocks very much suits cleans, in that I just slightly boost a stat that I see hasn't been boosted, and then call it a day. Which kind of makes my everything else kind of boring, unless I go a bit more ham,
bit more ham.
bit more ass ham.
Shut up.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I could see the cryo, the clean one being okay, but I probably wouldn't use it.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah. Point is,
Phone, huh?
thank you for watching.
Okay.
Say goodbye, Harry.
You're rocking stone there, we.
Rock and stout.
I'm finished off now.